budget.
All right,
Don't buy a boat.
since it's a little bit after 7, we're gonna start this meeting. Call the town board meeting to order. The fire exits are outside that door, either end of the hall. There's a defibrillator across the hall if one is needed. We're gonna start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of silence for all 6 residents of Hamlin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our clerk has told us that she got a call from our pastor Chris Bodie from St. John's. He had got called away. So I'm gonna do an invocation tonight. So if everybody would just bow their heads. Loving and gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts, and we come together this day to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions we make for the town of Hamlin and for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Give us insight to lead with integrity that our decisions may reflect what is right and good. Keep us from short-sightedness. Help us to make decisions that strive to be for the good of all while guarding us from blind self-interest. Finally, dear Lord, grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say, all glory be to you, loving God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
All right, then we will start with the public forum. Anybody who wishes
Want me to
to...
do a roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Hey, Joe.
Horvath.
Yes.
Wright.
Here.
Vocal. Here. Geiger.
Here.
Oz.
Here.
Can't remember one there, you know?
No, I've done that a couple of times. I know it. That's okay. All right, now we restart with the public forum. Anybody who wants to talk to this board, please talk to the board as a whole. We may or may not answer your questions. Try to keep your remarks to 5 minutes, about thereabout. Let's see, I do have a thing from Ashley Connor, and it says Kelly too.
And Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee, I'm sorry. It's from 1320 Brook Edge in Hamlin, about the sidewalk street lights.
Yeah.
So please, if you
You
would,
want to, up here?
yes, please.
We're new here.
You're okay.
I'm in the medical field. This is not my,
You can
my
try
area of
and
expertise.
move it if you want.
We're good. Okay.
Okay,
So, want me to start? Yeah. The biggest thing is, like, a lot of people are not for street left lights and sidewalks in Hamlin, especially in the Brook Edge area. But we're concerned because over the last 4 years that I've lived in Hamlin, I grew up in Greece. So I grew up with street lights, sidewalks, everything. I could play in my front yard, I could ride my scooter, I could ride my bike. Since we've moved here, I mean, we're in charge of our children and we're super good parents, I feel like. On that end, I feel like everyone's very aware of where their kids are at all times. So it's not negligence on any of the parents' behalf, I would say. There's been a couple hit and runs, a couple driving under the influence and leaving the scene in a particular area of our street between 3 houses. It's a very curvy road. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Brook Edge. You will come into the track, it splits into a fork. Once you're in, it's really dark, very dark. I live in the first house on the bend. I always invite people to come check it out at nighttime because it's pretty dark. But I have to, back out of my driveway. I usually back in so there's not a situation. But if someone's wearing black on a bike with no reflectors, absolutely no way I can see them. My concern is I take care of people in their homes as a private duty nurse. And I'm literally, this is really not the best thing to say, but I'm cleaning these people up from incidents like this on the daily. Drooling, using the restroom, incontinence. So to me, this hits home very hard because I see the aftermath of it every single day of my life. And I take care of a girl who was hit by a car. She was going to get an ice cream cone on her bicycle and got hit by an elderly woman that did not see her in broad daylight. So for me, it does hit home. There's 22 kids between the one bend and the second bend. So, and this is an increasing number because people are having more children, new families have moved into the trap, a lot of,
3 accidents just
Elderly.
over a month, so
Yes,
like
recent.
6 weeks.
so
There's 3 pictures here.
September 3rd at
But
7:45
our car
a.m.
was totaled. M. Kaylee Yeager in front of our house, the car was entirely totaled, the mailbox knocked down. The other 2 accidents, I actually like dated it on the back and everything. The other 2 accidents knocked over just the mailbox, but like there's a piece of the car there. So you can tell people are going down these curves and not actually able to see where they're going. They're driving under the influence.
2 of
and
the
they're
accidents
speeding.
on the 20th and the
So,
27th were both hit and runs. So the suspects left the scene and we called the police. It took 4 hours to find the person. It was a neighbor. It was a young kid that lived with a neighbor, their son. This is the 4th car he's wrecked, probably in the neighborhood. Again, didn't tell us that. We could not get them to blow for a, what is it?
Alcohol level.
Yeah, because
He ran.
by the
and-
time we found him, it was 4 hours later and he could have been drinking at 8 hours. So the police are like, there's really nothing you can do. You can do a paper trail, you can keep writing police reports all you want.
Yeah.
So we've just been calling for every little thing we see. If someone goes off, we
These
call.
aren't little though, so these 3
And-
very big things.
So we're sisters, we live next door to each other, directly next door to each other. Her son is autistic and he
Yeah.
elopes. So that's also a concern because as he's getting older, we're looking into like special needs and I actually know an attorney personally that works with special needs, so we're trying to figure that out. We're not looking to raise anyone's taxes or be like the jerks that moved in taking over. Like, we're just here literally to look out for the neighborhood and say, okay, even if it's every other street light or
Grant funding.
there's also grant funding, and they're already working on looking at National Grid and trying to get LED lights in other neighborhoods. So other neighborhoods already have street lights, and they're actually looking to upgrade those street lights, and we have not. So that's also my concern.
And if we could maybe like show them where the property is by using like those little reflectors,
Like, we can do that. We can
lowering
put-
the speed limit a little bit.
The
maybe
speed
to
limit's
20 or
30 miles
25.
per hour in our neighborhood, around that.
Which I told you, the least we can go do is 25, that's
We'll
all.
do
Your-
anything, we'll take
you know
Your
what?
state won't let you go any lower.
25 to 30, there's a difference between, like, demolishing internal buildings and not.
maybe
we're happy
speed
with that.
bumps before like the turns at least, not even on the whole entire road necessarily, but before those curves and, you know, corners that you're cutting, maybe like a couple.
And we're looking into getting lights
Does it have to
ourselves,
face
if we can't do this, like, we've looked into purchasing like individual streetlights for the neighbors, but the problem with that is you can't be so far to the road. There's a law on like how many feet you can be from the road with personal property, I believe, it's like 4 feet or 8 feet. So, we're doing our research and we're like coming to you, I'm coming to you after 4 years. I've literally been in contact with Mike for 4 years.
All of those pictures are taken like at a potential bus stop or bus
Yes.
stop currently,
That's the other
so
problem.
like we all have little kids that are gonna be standing right there for the bus.
So,
you know,
first day of school this year was September, 19th, I think, or 6th, I don't know, September, the first week of September, second week. We had a woman
September 3rd.
that was not familiar with the neighborhood and the sun glare was coming over a house, Rachel's house with house over. So she went up, basically there's 2 boulders there to prevent cars from coming up because it's a common issue. So she took out 2 mailboxes, so she hit one mailbox, hit a second mailbox, and pushed the boulder 4 feet up in the lawn. And that's an exact spot where her child would stand for the school bus. Because she was blinded by the sun. We know it's not on purpose, but it's just very scary.
No, I understand, but streetlights also wouldn't help that
Streetlights-
situation
It
at
wouldn't
all.
help that situation, but I'm just saying, I'm just showing you how curvy and.
People are driving too fast is the main
Well,
problem.
I have an autistic child, so like at 6 p.m. when we're standing at the edge of the driveway so
5:30.
he could play up higher, I could get hit because these people are just zipping around.
Right, they're
And
driving
it's
too
really,
fast.
yeah,
Yes.
it's really.
But even in the case of the drunk driver, had there been a light over it, maybe he would have seen where the road stopped and the grass started. I don't know, like, for me, you can walk into a room in the dark and fall over something. If there's a light, you might miss
So
it.
if you're driving, your car is going straight, your lights are going forward, you can't see what's next to you. So I take a 50-50 shot at running somebody over
Every
every
time.
accident whenever I'm driving at night. So
Even
that
if you're
makes me
cautious,
kind of-
there's like, it's just
Yeah.
so dark. You're turning in, and your lights, your lights follow you, but kids are all over the place.
It's a growing community still, so we're just concerned with for everybody's kids. There's a lot of us that couldn't make it tonight. Everybody wants to go and wants to express their their thoughts, but then nobody ever really shows up, but we do have quite a few people that also feel the same.
We just also keep being told, like, oh, we tried that, good freaking luck, like,
Well,
whatever.
21 years ago, they said we tried it, so, you know, worth a shot, if it's been 21 years. We don't wanna take people's property away by like giving sidewalks to the community necessarily, but like maybe a street light might help and make families feel more comfortable being outside.
I mean, I
going
put
on walks.
strobe lights on the kids when we walk at 5:30, because it does get very dark, in the off chance that we're stuck and delayed, and then, you know, they at least can see my kids and us, but not everyone is doing that.
And we know you have a lot of ground to cover, so I did write up like basically all the facts, just have it documented so that you guys know like what's happened over the last month or two that's been really impactful, like, I don't know what the pictures are, but you can hang on to all of
Pictures
it.
are it's right here.
Was your car in your driveway when
It was on our property, so we actually just had a gentleman down the street repave it, so we parked on our grass. And it took the car from the grass all the way to the driveway.
With the e-brake down, and almost hit the fire hydrant.
Yeah, so it wasn't even in, you know, the,
2:30 in the
you know,
morning.
the street or anything
Yeah, it's 2:30.
Yeah,
2:30 in the morning. I was sleeping with my daughter on
like that. I
Saturday.
think he might have, but they didn't, you know. So I don't know if we need cameras, because our ring cameras can't catch it, so,
Have you ever given a
You know.
snowplow over a speed bump?
I'm worried that if they do speed bumps, that it, like, it's gonna be a literal ramp for them to go through our house.
Yes, we're not putting
Like,
speed bumps
look.
in.
we are having hit and runs, you know, and it is like
I
a
know.
mailbox, which could be like a federal law, correct?
Well,
Like
it's
if
a
you-
federal offense.
felony or
Hit and
whatever
run
you
a
call it.
mailbox, that's true.
So I don't know what could get us where we need to be to have like enough evidence that this is a problem, but 2 hit and runs, 3 accidents in 6 weeks, like, something's gotta change,
Well,
you know?
Actually, our engineer is here tonight and I have talked to him, because he's gonna give us a presentation on water lines, so.
Okay.
We can do a study, if we find enough interest, we can do a study and get a study and have a study done to see if it's even feasible, the money aspect of it, and then whether we just do it at streets or intersections and curves.
Yeah, I
There are
mean,
no hills in there, so
That's-
just put a, or whether everybody else complains who wants it the whole housing track, you know, even on the straightaways.
I think the straightaways are a lot of people that have been there for 60+ years, 30 years, they're all telling us we're acting crazy, like, you can look at our Facebook, it's like dog eat dog, it's bad, and they're all like, we've been here 30 years, and like, they're just being defensive, and it's like, come sit in my lawn, that's all I want you to do, just a light on my corner, like, it's the bends, and it's the speed limit, that's what it comes down to, like, we're not asking for sidewalks, and like, would it be nice, yes, but
Well,
we're not
especially
like,
the entrance way there, because you're getting all of the
Well,
traffic.
they're down by
Yeah.
the bridge.
we're down, yeah, right where the creek is,
Yeah.
it goes
They're
through,
down by the bridge, those 90-degree curves.
so I think that's, I mean, that's obviously the biggest, the rest is like
So
a
you're
big
gonna
loop.
go one of 2 ways, so like, we still get a lot more than, let's say, somebody in the back that might have,
People are drag racing,
Yeah.
all that, I don't ever complain about it, like, children on ATVs without helmets at 5 to 7, no one complains, no one calls the cops, like, but.
And they fly.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't, like, that's the thing too, is I've almost hit their kids, and I've said to them, your child needs to either be accompanied by you or having a helmet on, because I went to make a left-hand turn, the kid decided to just go around, and I couldn't, so.
But I'm gonna cut you short.
No, you're fine.
No, but I'm saying, like I said, our engineer is here tonight, so he can help us see what we have to do to at least start a study to see what
Yeah.
is going on,
or
okay?
create an action plan, right?
Yeah.
Just
Well,
something
right,
like
but we
a
need a
safeguard.
study. We
Right,
need,
right,
just
right.
like putting anything in, we
Did
gotta
the
do a
sheriff
study
ever
and then
get
do a
back about the
feasibility,
lights? I don't
get a
know.
price, how much it would cost.
Did you ever hear back from the sheriff about the, like, temporary lights? I think Kelly was saying something about for Halloween.
No.
No? Okay.
That was wishful thinking.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for your
Thank
thing.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
We can, like I said, our engineer's here tonight, so we were talking to him about how we proceed forward with the study or whatever.
Thank you.
Steve, I'm just gonna, I live in the neighborhood too, 1387 towards the back, so I know what they're saying is, yeah, they're in, I call that the Indy 500 through that curve,
It
it's
is.
like, it is
It
a speed zone. we live in the back, yeah, we're gonna say we're anti-sidewalks just because our
Yeah,
yards are
we
so small.
understand though.
But I-
understand what's
yeah,
gonna go.
yeah. So I get it, the lights, yeah, light pollution, but I would agree that people could put, there are some neighborhoods, like we've been down like Apple Hollow, a lot of those streets, they all had the light posts out there. And that does seem to make that street brighter, and I think, you know, people wanna spend the money, or better lighting, people turn your lights on
The
too.
problem is it's so far, it can't go
Yeah.
so far to the road where
Yes.
you need it.
But I think that you at least see the lights where even if they're back a little further, you at least know, okay. The other thing I thought is,
Yeah.
you know, we're just kinda talking back here is maybe some lines down the center, just so you,
Yep.
something to help you see that road.
Reflective lines.
Yeah,
there.
it's just, it's dark, a little something to help things stand out. Yeah, people need to wear
I'm
more.
just praying they fall into the creek and get stuck, so we can at least catch them before they
Yeah,
go.
just, people need to wear more reflectors, yeah, it's like
We're
a
not going
racetrack,
anywhere, buddy.
but, yeah,
Yeah.
and I will admit, the sheriff's department, when we moved here 16 years ago, I was like, oh, you know, we don't have to pay for police, but as time's gone on, it's one of those things where it is a negative probably now that there is no town police department. I grew up in Gates
I
where
mean,
you always
they
had
park in our neighborhood to
So.
watch the fireworks, and they high five the AC here.
food for thought, as they say, just, but it's been definitely a split decision
Yeah.
in the neighborhood about lights. It's definitely been a hot topic.
All right, thank you. Anybody else in the public? Then at this point, I will close the public meeting. Requesting town board resolution to approve the regular town board meeting minutes of October 15th, 2024.
Robert,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Volko.
Yeah.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to approve the payment of bills from their respective funds.
Second.
Robert,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Volko. Jaeger.
Yeah.
Yes. At this time, we ask our engineering group, MRB, to present the presentation on the future possible expansion of water lines in Hamlin. JP Navilio, please.
Thanks. So yeah, thank you. I'm JP Chef with MRB Group, and my colleague Emilio Moran's here as well. So I'm gonna just give you a quick update and background of where this started and where we are now. We were requested by Steve, and I think Phil was involved, knowing the district that's going into construction now in Clarkson, there's some opportunities for water line connections along the Clarkson town line. And over all the years, I've been around since around 92, I think, or 94. You know, we've chipped away at certain areas. There's always been some areas that have been difficult to service. So we're taking another hard look at it. So what we did is we initially looked at all the roads in town that are not serviced with water. And we did a basic costing for each of those. And what it boils down to, if a project is affordable or not, is how many houses are you getting per, let's say, 1,000 feet per mile. Some metric where you're getting enough density of houses to help offset the cost of the water line. So we tallied up all the roads in town that were not serviced with water. We omitted several. As in your handout, you'll see this is basically just a blow up of the map you have. You know, but there's sections of like North Hamlin Road that the density is just so very low, it simply isn't an affordable area to serve. There's two sections of North Hamlin Road, Green and Jacob Road.
Moscow between Redmond and County Line.
Correct.
There's like 3 houses for, what is it, a mile and a half or something?
Yeah, so we weeded out several areas. We've honed down to the 8 areas that you see highlighted. And I'm gonna let Emilio go into that. Now, there's a couple areas such as County Line Road from the Clarkson Town Line and then tying up the Kendall Mills that alone on the Hamlin side is a little sparse. If we can get some kind of joint project together with Kendall, that might become affordable. this section on County Line and this section on Redmond are both difficult. Even though we have water lines here now, or coming soon from the Clarkson end, Water Authority is gonna end up taking these roads, or taking these water lines over. And so we need to meet Monroe County Water Authority standards and requirements. And they were clearly against just dead-ending each of those lines.
Even though they're deadheaded.
Even though they're dead-headed at the town line, they basically insisted if we're gonna cover this, we're gonna complete a creek crossing of Sandy Creek in those two locations. That's an expensive endeavor because the bottom of Sandy Creek there is pretty much solid bedrock. So they're gonna be expensive crossings. They are in the realm of the cost of these other areas, especially if we can piggyback with Kendall. This, again, this section here as well, it's similar, it's even more low density. County Line Road from Moscow tying into the line here. Morton Road, it might be doable, but it looks a little tough right now. So we're honed in on these 8 areas. And before I dive into the spreadsheet, I'll have Amelia do that. I just wanted to update you. As part of this, we've been looking at funding alternatives and loans and grant opportunities. And we work on projects that have New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grants. We work on projects with the Water Quality Improvement Program grants. We work with on grants that receive money from the HUD program for housing and urban development. And we work a lot with the United States Department of Agriculture for their rural development program. So all these programs that are the logical ones, they all have caveats. Where they best fit, income-based, are they just serving low to moderate? For example, HUD is generally serving really only low income areas. And they've changed, they used to do some water improvement projects. They've kind of gone back to their name, housing and urban development. So they're stressing now on housing, for example. The Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. Sounds like a good fit, but they're really looking for improvements of existing infrastructure. This is new infrastructure, so it would probably not be a high scoring opportunity for grant money. What we found in this case is the best scenario for funding is probably the USDA, the Rural Development, Rural Utility Services portion. They have a combination of grant and loan programs. And they base a package you can get of grant and loan, or one or loan only, based upon the median household income. Town of Hamlin falls into what they call, they have 3 categories. Market, which is market rate, loan, pretty much loan only. Then they have an intermediate rate, which is a subsidized loan rate, and they can provide up to 45% grant for the project costs. And then the final is poverty. The town of Hamlin qualifies for their intermediate rate, which means we could get up to a 45% grant, and we would be at their intermediate rate. Presently, that rate is at 3.25%, no, 3.8%. So we're using a similar package on the Clarkson project. We just finished up a project in Byron, very similar, trying to fill in as much of the remaining areas. And the rural development program has been the best fit with the best packages, low interest loans and grant money. So that's what we predicated the remainder of looking at these areas and finding where we're at an affordable project. A couple other things to think about. Rural development isn't going to give you a 45% grant for a multi-million-dollar project if you're serving 20 or 30 homes. They want a grant that makes some impact, and a loan that makes some impact. So it has to have kind of a sweet spot of number of customers you're getting on public water and a right-sized project. The grant amount, that 45% potential, is based on what they call their target service charge. So rural development has to give grants and loans all across the country. And that their target service charge says, in their opinion, 2.5% of the median household income is a reasonable amount to pay for water. So that's the metric they use, and they'll adjust that grant amount up to 45% to approach that target service charge. So that 45 is the max. If you need all that 45%, it gets close to that target service charge. They basically feel there's a certain amount that people should be paying if they're going to get a benefit, like public water. So that's the background. So where we are now, I'm going to have Emilio just summarize the spreadsheet and look at the cost.
I just have 2 questions. So do you have to go under the creek on 7
We do.
You can't stop before it? Or?
No, the Monterey County Water Authority made no uncertain terms that they weren't going to allow extending the dead end any further.
So Steve and I actually met with the high ups of Water Authority. This wasn't just from random engineers. This was with Steve Savage and Todd Ferguson, two of the heads of Water Authority. Steve Savage is the head of engineering. And essentially, they actually don't really want us to connect to Clarkson, to be honest. So at the north end of the Clarkson project, it will be coming up Redmond and County Line. Those pressures are going to be about 160 pounds in the water main already. And that's right at the limit of what Water Authority wants in any of this water mains. So the elevation drops off a little bit as you come into Hamlin, and they just really didn't want to entertain hooking into those. And we did ask them about doing PRV bolts, installing pressure reducing valves to knock down the pressure. They said they already have a significant cluster of PRVs in the area, and they weren't really interested in that either. They, obviously it was an informal meeting, but they said pretty certainly they want us to come from north, and the interconnection between Clarkson and Hamlin would really be on an emergency basis. That won't be a normally open connection. So they really want us to be from the north system. Unfortunately, so those creek crossings, as we understand it in our meeting with the Water Authority, really are necessary if we want to serve those areas. So there would be a deadhead on both sides but it would be connected only when they choose?
It would be connected from the north, and more than likely we would connect with a bleeder so that there's not, whichever side's lower bleeds out, so there's less aging water in the dead end. But it's not gonna be a fully open system feeding one way or the other.
They'd make us put a valve there, Phil.
Just to bleed it, just to.
Right, and in the event of an emergency where they needed that flow from the lower pressure zone, if there's something happening in Clarkson, they need to open up and bring it that direction for an emergency situation. So they're gonna make us connect them, but with a normally closed valve.
Yeah, 99% of the time it'll be normal flow only from the north. So that's a little background on that. As JP said, really what we were looking for was the biggest thing is density along each road determines the cost. And that 2.5% of median household income is what rural development sees as fair for water. That in this case comes to about $1,719 per year per household. And that includes not only the debt service to pay for the improvements, but also the purchase of water. So we have that estimated there too. So I'll kind of briefly go through the areas and then talk a little more specifics about a couple areas. So we have County Line Road, from the Parkway down to Cook Road, and then still along County Line, all down to Moscow Road. Cook Road, there is an existing water main on the east end, so we'd be going from County Line over to connect that existing water main. Coming over to Moscow Road, it would be between East and West Fork, but there is a second water main there that the water authority prefers us to connect to. That actually makes it a little easier because we're all on the same pressure. And then Brick Schoolhouse Road coming all the way from East Fork all the way over, stopping just short of Walker Lake, Ontario, again connecting to that existing main. And then like we talked about, Redmond Road and County Line Road. And you'll see on the spreadsheet, County Line Road has a little asterisk and the EDU count or number of houses count is highlighted. That is because when we initially ran the scenarios, County Line Road only had 7 houses on its side, or 7 countable EDUs as we counted. We're really using high level counts for initial. That would have made it essentially unaffordable. So what we put in there is potentially there's about 6 houses on the Kendall side. So if the town were able to speak with Kendall and come up and see those residents' interest in a joint water district of that portion, that would then actually make that portion affordable. So that's kind of the do or die there, whether or not you can get Kendall involved.
Would HUD grants be more of an option if Kendall is involved, because we know their income level is a little different in Northern County?
Yeah, so being along both the town line and county line, it introduces a lot of semantic issues. Monroe County does get HUD money, but it's distributed to the Monroe County and then the county distributes out HUD money as they choose. The rural areas get very little. Over the years, we might get 50,000 here or there for, we got like 50,000 bore across the Parkway one year, and we got a little contribution for the line going up Redmond Road. But they're parsed out in small chunks. Yes, Kendall has probably more opportunity for getting HUD money. They probably have more opportunity as well of getting rural development money as well. The problem is, as I alluded to, rural development looks at the median household income to come up with a grant loan package. And so because we're looking at 2 different townships, 2 different counties, it gets complicated on whether they're gonna have to get their own grant loan package to contribute that towards this side or vice versa. So the logistics get a little dicey. It's been done. I mean, the line going down Morton Road in Kendall is a joint district. It's just, it complicates matters.
Add to that as well, I'll talk about overall cost briefly and then add a couple points regarding potential grants as well. So all of that area considered, we'd be looking at a total project cost of about $4.8 million. It's 39,000 feet of pipe and about 85 houses total. Kind of summing that all up, the approximate debt service costs, so what would be going on the taxes of the people living there to pay for the water district every year, we've got $1,439 a year, and then we estimate the cost of buying water each year at $299 for the average resident, bringing that estimated total cost of $1,738.45. So again, that 2.5% number of $1,719, the target USDA charge, what they want to get to, we're right in that ballpark. Now, speaking of grants, USDA is a little funky because they really like that 2.5% number. There have been cases where you go out and get grant money from somewhere else, and then USDA sees you get that grant money, and then they reduce it. So a lot of times people say, we see on the news grant opportunities, whoever bill was passed to issue these grants or something. It's not always as simple as stacking as many grants as possible. There is a certain tipping point where you can stack more grants, but you're actually not going to make it any cheaper, unfortunately.
So that's a perfect example that they're gonna provide grant money until you reach that target service charge. If you go and get a HUD grant on top of that, they're gonna say, okay, we'll give you less, so you're still at the same target service.
So there are a couple of conservative items in this estimate, just to keep in mind. we believe the kind of number we've come up with is really our top end. And as we, if the town wants to dive deeper in this, or the residents of the district want us to dive deeper into this, we'll be really looking at things that are gonna bring down that overall cost. First of all, the total number of houses is 85 per our count. So right now, the total debt service is only distributed across those 85 houses. Typically in water districts, or in a lot of water districts, vacant parcels will be charged a half EDU or half equivalent dwelling unit. So they will actually pay 50% of the debt service per year. We have not accounted for any of those yet. Obviously across almost 40,000 feet, there's gonna be a good number of vacant parcels that will potentially also share in the charge. So that would increase the number of people that it's divided amongst and reduce that per EDU or per equivalent dwelling unit charge.
But the caveat to that is, if it's an agricultural parcel in the ag district, not a place with a homestead or a barn that would be, or a facility using water, but a vacant ag parcel receiving the ag exemption, that would generally get charged to a zero. So how many of those, we don't know yet, until we hone in that, is this area, are these areas you want, where do you want us to go? So we're basically giving you our findings, this is where we feel the direction is, but.
So also like the vacant properties that have houses or anything, you haven't counted anything of those?
We have not, and again, many of them will be exempt because they're agricultural. So we haven't honed those figures down enough until we make sure our service area and we start getting the district boundaries exact.
Now, do you have Redmond Road figured in on this,
Yes,
the final?
this final figure does include that southern portion.
Now, what
of
happens if
Redmond
you took
Road.
that away though, because that's only got a few houses, and you still gotta cross a creek, which is very expensive. What did you say it was across the creek?
I have figured in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
We cross Sandy Creek for the city, it's gonna be expensive. Realistically, that would reduce the price, so that's really one of the big contingent items, or one of the big items discussed, is crossing the creek.
But if you look at our spreadsheet, you can see
Right.
areas 1 through 8. There's a couple that push us, that are, they step up, going from our low number of about 1,023 to these high numbers in another $1,000 more. But you blend them all together, and these things kind of even out. And again, as I was suggesting, to make a good grant application, we want to hit a certain amount of houses.
Right.
Because the funding agencies are gonna look at, well, we wanna get a volume of houses involved in this if we're gonna bother going through the grant loan. So we think we're kind of at the sweet spot where all these things kind of match.
Yeah,
I know what we're seeing on other projects.
I don't remember the exact figure, but it was somewhere around dropping Redmond Road and not having county line, the southern portion county line, reduced the total yearly cost by about $75. So it's not gonna cut the project cost in half, it's not gonna cut hundreds of dollars out. And like we're talking about with EDUs, that's really something that becomes a deep dive with the assessor to analyze all of the EDUs. But really the cost we're presenting now is what we believe to be a upper limit of it.
We're being conservative at this point until we hone down.
The other item in flux is really interest rates. Those have been volatile over the last few years. Currently, USDA is loaning out at the intermediate rate of 3.125%. We used a rate a little bit above that in our estimates. We couldn't tell you for sure what rates are going to do next year or when this locked in. The rate wouldn't be locked in until the town signs the letter of conditions with USDA. So that would be potentially a year down the road.
But for example, the project in Clarkson, they locked in on their loan at 1.5% in 2022. Now, for Hamlin, because of the intermediate median household income, we're 3 and an 8. You know, partially because the project in Clarkson became eligible for poverty because they allowed income survey. I'm getting into the weeds here, but they got a good package a couple of years ago that isn't a package that's
The
available.
state did away with those income surveys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
process has changed, the MHI numbers that they're using now, recently actually made Hamlin now eligible, so before Hamlin wasn't really been eligible for funds, so things are in fluctuation, and we can't really compare apples to apples with Clarkson, unfortunately, even though this is a very recent project, because funding parameters have changed recently.
Are there any houses on this little section of Moscow, like if we tie into that first?
In between these two
Yeah,
areas?
yeah.
Actually, I looked at those with water authority, those are fed by water already.
Okay.
So originally we were gonna go down, but they have, water authority says they're feeding them water already, so it becomes,
There's a water line going down Westport that goes down Moscow that way. We fed the house on the other side, everybody at the very corner is being fed by that line.
Yep. So it's one of those things, well, you'd be doing more main, but you're not serving anyone
Yeah,
extra.
there isn't another house before your old mark.
So a little bit of savings there. And these two, the east and western lines are actually different pressures. The water authority only would want us tying to the east line, so we'd really be dead if we were there anyways. It wouldn't really increase infrastructure, or increase, any redundancy in the system.
What's the next step?
Really, the next step would be if the town board feels that the people of the proposed area would be behind this or would be more interested in it, really to dive into a full engineering report where we would be working with the assessor to come up with the exact EDU count, refining our numbers even more, doing actual hydraulics on the system, and then in order to apply for a USDA grant, you need a finalized engineering report.
Yeah, so tonight we're looking for direction from you folks. Say, okay, it looks like this homework you've done is reasonable. Let's hone this in and take it to the next step of approaching the folks in this area. And we've seen it many times, probably in Hamlin as well as in many other towns. You get a group of people, let's say, name a road, Cook, or wherever, they say, we have great water, we don't want to be part of it. And that's, you don't know that until you go to the public and get some public input. But we're looking, from your experience at the town, where you feel, should we proceed ahead and start getting information that we can present to the public and start looking at actual districts?
Yes. So basically, next step would be sending out surveys to the households that are.
Yeah, or an informational meeting,
Not letting you go ahead and do more stuff, to ask the people what they want from this, or
well,
having you do more information.
well, to a degree, I mean, if we present, let's say we present all these 8 sections, and we just have an informational meeting, and from our figures today, it's gonna be $1,700 a year. Well, you're gonna, a straw poll vote's might not see a lot of hands come up. And that's gonna tell you, okay, let's look at each street. What about you folks? Is this too much? Is this too much? And it kind of condenses down into what people can.
Right, I understand that, but I didn't know, like, how much does the town spend?
Right.
If everybody, for you to do another study, and then everybody says, nope, I don't want it.
Right, that's why we do an informational meeting. If you're in agreement that these areas make sense, and our initial study makes sense, we can do an informational meeting and say, okay, folks, this is where where we feel it's sort of reasonable, a reasonable expectation. And if no one raises their hand in interest, then that's done.
Then we're done.
And then it'll fall back like we've done before, where the folks on whatever, Redmond Road are still interested, because they have bad water or bad, whatever. And then we fall back and shrink back down to, okay, we looked at everything, now we're carrying things off because we didn't find interest in it.
I just think that we just went through a reassessment. I think when you start talking about having over $1,700, I just don't think.
I can tell you, like, I know four different families out of those 8, and all those different sections, I think it's, they've been screaming for water for a long time.
Well, I know
So,
myself in my neighborhood, there's a lot of people hauling water. I just saw a water truck and my neighbors, what they wanna spend for it, I don't know.
right, that's the thing.
But I really don't wanna have an informational meeting until we fine tune the EDUs, so we get a more exact, a little bit, kind of,
Gotta count all the eggs in the basket.
yeah,
That's
get a
true.
little bit more
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah, we're trying not to be too conservative. You know, using 3 1/4 instead of 3 of them and an 8 percentage rate. That's a little conservative, it's not crazy conservative. You know, there's other examples, yes, we're gonna get certain EDUs, but some areas are gonna end up being a lot of ag exempt parcels that aren't gonna change matters. So, it's kind of just at some point you gotta put some initial feelers out and get the information, like you're saying, we're hauling water, so this doesn't sound crazy to us. Other people are gonna say, no, we're fine, we'll keep on our way.
I can have these EDU numbers for you by Friday. If you get that map to me by tomorrow,
I can give you the parcel list. Maybe you
I can have the EDUs for you by
And I
Friday.
think we gotta reach out to Kendall and see, I don't know. That would be part of the, like, that new information.
Even like Kendall or those residents, we actually have we never did away with the Hamlin Kendall Water District. That is still in force. In case because the water authority doesn't own the pipeline, we still own it. They just rent it from us for 40 years,
Yeah, 40-year lease.
40-year lease.
That's true of all your existing ones.
Right, of all the existing water lines. So we never did away with all of our water lines that we share with Kendall because in 40 years, if the water authority says, I'm done with this, we don't have to reform our district. It's there, we kept it. With New York State, they holler every year they holler, but we still keep it. So it shouldn't be a huge deal to put them, because we already have like a Kendall water district. But I mean, we would have to ask them if they would be in for it, yes.
Right, yeah, they have to be included in.
But it wouldn't be jumping over mountains.
Yeah, so we could produce the parcel list and we can hone in that EDU number. It will most certainly only go up. But there are the other variables: construction costs, inflation, interest rates. We gotta be a little conservative. We have to be a certain amount conservative to account for the volatility that we've just seen.
Right. You may not buy the pipe or want to bid till not even next year, or the year after.
Correct.
And the price of pipe could,
Realistically, again, that 2.5% number, if magically we found 50% more EDUs or twice the number of EDUs, based on these numbers, they would cut in half, but again, rural development might cut the grant down. So yes, finding more EDUs will likely reduce the cost, but there's definitely a rock bottom where that grant, they're just gonna reduce the grant amount. So,
They wanna get you to that target.
yeah, yeah, you're not gonna get down to 1,200.
Right.
Anything like that. So from the public's perspective, really what this is a initial, these are the areas that are vaguely viable, and then we're finding out who's actually interested, who has bad enough water that they believe this is worthwhile for their family, or what roads say, we all have great water, and we don't want to get too far down the road where then the roads drop out, and we already finished our grant package and have to go revise it. So there is a balance of cart before the horse, but both kind of at the same time.
Personally, I think we should have, I think it's up to the public, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have some
Yeah.
basic figures, I think we should have a public information meeting and see people are interested or
We'll
not.
get some
If it's a
feedback.
big, like, no, then we're done, and it doesn't, enough people who are, move forward. Reasonable?
I would-
And then
So, go ahead.
if they're making resolution, we ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hearing,
We need that resolution, so make it.
make a resolution, we just do a public hearing on the water district, proposed water district, MRV. We gotta bring Kendall into it.
Go ahead, tell me
What, set up the date.
Right.
There wouldn't be a public hearing,
Not a
it'd be
public
just.
It would be like, it's
Informal.
an informational
Informational
meeting.
meeting. Yep.
Yep, and then the second.
Second.
I,
Oh, okay, then, wait. Probert,
yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Bogo, Jaeger,
Yes.
Baz.
Yes. So that all you need from us at this time? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You are free to go.
I'll get you that map tomorrow, and I'll take care of it. Have them call me.
It was our first,
Yeah.
so I'm just like
Okay.
figuring it out.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
interested, so I'm.
You're more than welcome to stay.
Okay.
Like watching paint dry.
Yeah, don't fall asleep. Do you want
Getting
me to?
interesting. It is interesting.
Do you need that, let us know.
Yeah, it's always interesting when
Does
engineers are
anybody need that
talking.
map?
I'll take
it.
that.
Understand anything.
I think I got
My
it.
son's an engineer. JT, can I have that map?
I don't know.
I'll give you all that if I leave it there.
Thank
My
you.
husband.
So I'll get you more
Engineer said
spreadsheet.
he was-
Parameters of what
On the
I'm
phone.
looking
It's a nice easy.
Oh, yeah.
My email and
No.
by Friday.
Okay, sounds great.
Sound great? You're welcome.
It'll help with, really that 2.5% are gonna want to use.
I know, it's hard, I have a lot of bags. Certain areas,
Yeah.
you know, prom, like you said, you're referring to the prom. I see where it's.
Well, we're aware, everybody was telling us the program.
Yeah, there's a lot of houses, but then there's a lot of
You never know.
active
Well, it's funny 'cause
Hence
they
why
also
there's no
see
roads
the
near it.
All right, we're gonna continue with our meeting.
I know.
We still have some other stuff to get to.
Thanks, JP.
Thank you, Emilio. Requesting town board resolution to enter into an agreement between the town of Hamlin and Monroe County concerning the municipal senior youth congregate program. This is the ARPA funds they wanna give us next year. They just sent a note saying we have to have a resolution accepting it.
So moved.
Probert,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Bogo, Jaeger,
Yeah.
Baz.
Yes. Number 11, requesting town board resolution to authorize use of ARPA funds to hire a grant writer to apply for grants to perform a state senior community feasibility market study. This is for the property up there south of the senior home that the town owns now.
It's for,
No, it was for our,
master plan.
yeah, the comprehensive master.
So moved.
And, well, this all goes into everything
Right.
behind here too. I don't have to read it, we can just go and. It's only gonna be like 5,000 tops.
Right.
You can see it in here, because all we're doing is applying for a grant. The study is gonna be around 75 grand.
Right.
So we're gonna apply for a grant to get that, to do this study.
To do the study.
Nobody will touch us without doing a study first.
Probert,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Bogo, Jaeger,
Yes.
Baz.
Yes. 12, whereas a public hearing was held for the preliminary 2025 budget for the town of Hamlin on October 30th, 2024 at 6:15 PM, and whereas all interested parties were heard at that time, and whereas the town board made any modification to the preliminary budget. Now therefore, town board resolution is requested to adopt the 2025 town of Hamlin preliminary budget as the final 2025 town of Hamlin budget.
So moved.
Second.
Truba,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Wolfle, Jaeger,
Yes.
Bus.
Yes. This is requesting town board resolution to make the following budget amendments to use ARPA funds. 4,203 from account 0599. And increase the expense for parks 7110.4, that same amount. And then,
Like, you wanna do-
well, we can do
Do them all, or?
well, there's only two ARPAs. The next highway 80 is also ARPA. Increase revenue account 0599 by $6,481.32. And increase expense account 7110.10 park salary, $6,481.36.
The first one is all the final bills for all the improvements to the park. The second one, as far as the lights for the picnic festival, the drainage on the ball field, repairs to the electric in the pavilion, lights on the Charlie Meyer Lodge, lights in the Charlie Meyer Lodge. And then the rest of it, the second piece of it is the labor to go along with that. A piece of the labor, just to bring enough back into operate for the rest of the season.
Because we've already put ARPA funded.
Yes,
We've already dedicated funds for those purposes already with the remaining bills.
this is just should be the last of the bills, yes.
So moved.
And then the 6,000 is we've never done salary for doing the work, so that's the 6,481.
Second.
All right, Truba,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Wolfle, Jaeger,
Yeah.
Bus.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to make the following budget amendment to use highway fund balance to pay for the new dump truck. Increase revenue account 0599.00 fund balance, $293,543.11. Increase expense account DA 5130.20 machinery equipment, $293,543.11.
So moved.
Second.
Truba,
Yes.
Wright,
This is the one we just bought.
Yeah, we actually okayed it in April of
I
last
wasn't
year.
here, so. Yes.
Wolfle, Jaeger,
Yes.
Bus.
Yes. Requesting town board resolution to advertise in the West Side News for a part-time assistant to the assessor position.
That's gonna be for 20 hours.
16 or 20, yeah.
Can we also, in the same advertisement for the janitor?
No. It should be separate, you shouldn't combine them in the same
I've seen other towns do it. Or like someone, maybe it's like the park board, or like someone who's elevating, on the planning board.
Well, Baines, yeah, Baines, only, so, yeah, but I don't want to muddy the waters or anything, and I wouldn't want to, I don't know.
So moved.
I feel. I think it'd be pretty clear, like, this assessor position, this much money, this many hours.
I think they do that, I think I just saw one for Hilton, and it said, Hilton School District is hiring and they have these positions.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. It would depend on what the cost is for advertising, if it'd be a bigger ad, would it be more expensive?
I would also think we would have to tell our guys
Oh,
that
yeah.
we get rid of them first before we advertise for the
I didn't
position.
know that, yeah.
I think that would be more prudent, so I'd love to
Smart
stay
idea.
with just what we got here right now.
Second.
Truba,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Wolfle, Jaeger,
Yes.
Bus.
Yes. Discussion, health insurance.
Oh, wait, sorry. Do you have a date
Do you want
for,
it
to
She has to give me up a thing yet. I don't have I looked.
A description?
Yeah,
I
a
think
job
I have
description,
one.
whatever, so. If we get into this week or next week, whatever.
Next week.
Okay, and, applications in by a certain date?
November, middle of November.
Yeah.
Well, if we get in next week, it gives 2 weeks, right?
No. That's,
Oh,
that's
that's
the first week of
right.
November.
No, no, I mean, the
So,
third
so
week.
you would probably do November 30th, because you got the holiday in there too, don't forget that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, that's okay.
and while we're on that, is there any work on, computer so they can have the screen monitors back for that position?
We are working on that right now,
Okay.
so.
I got mine.
I
Someone
wanna go
likes it
back to the
too,
old one, I think
monitors.
we trashed it.
So she does want to give hers up now, that's.
Are you okay with the application
Yeah.
for like December 2nd, the 30th, the end of November with the holiday, Thanksgiving? Monday is December 2nd.
That's fine. It's only a few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Discussion there. Healthcare. Health insurance.
So where everything we received, I was okay with it as long as it was offered to everybody. And when I mean everybody, those folks that normally wouldn't have done it because of the cost, and now we've offered it to them. I think that's, so I don't know what the cost
You have to
is.
have it included in everybody
Right.
that's gonna go.
Right, so I don't know what the cost of that's gonna be, but I think, well, I think it's fine for the health insurance, but just make sure folks that decide to opt out of it, they get another chance at.
And that is an extra $37,000 a year in taxes.
Did they increase the, cap and all to do that? That's why I was, that's why before I said what's gonna change.
37,000, I don't know if it would increase the cap at all or not. To be honest with you, if you plug that in, but still. I
I'm
mean,
all
you're asking
for
the
it.
taxpayers right now, we pay 75% of everybody's health care. I think that's a pretty good, I think that's a pretty good thing that we're paying right now.
Are you hiring?
Actually,
I'm not even kidding. I'm a nurse and that's my problem. In private duty, so I get no health insurance.
There'll be a job posted on the West Side News in a week.
For what?
That 37,000 isn't, because there's,
It's around 36 something, I think, for everything.
well, you're not,
It's 29 or something for just the highway.
And we have the.
No, not really,
people that send it.
because you've got, one person in here under the, if you go to 15%, but he's not in there at 25%. So it's like, 95, 25 difference.
It's gonna be addition on there, like in a couple months, somebody got married. One of the guys got married and cannot put his family on there right now. He waited too long to put his policy in, he's going from a single policy to a family, so that would jump it up
That's what makes
as
it.
of the first of the year.
It's not the same on both of these sheets that we gave out.
This by email?
Single,
I don't, like you see, I don't know, I don't wanna put any more burden, I mean, like you said, we just did a reeval and put a burden on taxpayers. I don't wanna keep putting more taxpayer money, asking them for more money. You're gonna be asking for more money, and that's just $36,000, it's $36,719.37 is going on. And that's just next year, year after we'll go up even more, year after we'll go up even more.
Because the percentage, and then keeps compiling every year.
I mean, our highway department, you're looking at it, everybody's making on fees, I mean, for their wages, they're making any place between $90,000 and $95,000 a year.
The way I look at it,
With, I mean, not the wages, I'm sorry, 65, I'm sorry, thousand for wages, and then $30,000 worth of benefits.
right, but we have folks that aren't getting that probably would benefit from this, right, that would need, that this is gonna really help them. So like, you know. So I think offer to all of them, I think it's beneficial. Plus, I think it's just like, I think this year is a good year because we did do some adjustments.
But if you drop it, then with the other people, there's like at least 4 people up here at the town hall that don't have it right now.
That we have to offer them.
And what happened if they took it at a lower rate now?
Well, they probably might. That's the idea.
That's a lot more money for taxpayers. That's 20,000 each person, so another 80,000 on top of 36 from the taxpayers. Can you talk to the taxpayers and tell them if that's what you want to do?
Yes, I would like to do that. I think,
They're shaking their head.
the whole thing is that this town is really
I mean, for
been
me,
fairly low for all their employees and what they've offered them for a long time.
I think
Go ahead.
if you work for the town, I don't know, this is hard for me because I take care of people for a living. And I can't take care of my family right now. That's the struggle. I work overnight right now. Right now I leave here and I'm going to work overnight. And I work 12-hour shifts 4 times a week, but I can't get benefits, so I'm actually looking for a new job right now. I interviewed with the school district, but they pay such a low premium that I can't afford to change my job. So I'm in a really big bind. And if my employer looked at me or the state said, hey, you bill Medicaid, you're a nurse, you take care of people, you should be able to get that. I think all people should have health insurance.
You're right. And
I just do. I don't think it's fair.
I
but
think
we're
it's
all
tougher.
going
I think that's one of the toughest things for families right now.
Yep. And it's up to me as the mom, because my husband works, 9 to 5, and he's in healthcare too, and his benefits are $300 a month, or $300 a week to add me on. I can't afford it.
So you have a great understanding of the dilemma, right? So would you as a taxpayer feel,
I'm ready
Well,
to
they're all-
sign up at Tops to work in the meat department.
would you feel that this is an okay thing to do for employees? Because it's really hard to find employees.
But then as a taxpayer, it's hard too, because I can't get them, so it's frustrating.
I mean, right now, the town is paying at 75%, the town is paying $194,430 a year
Since I moved in 4 years ago, my taxes have gone up $200 a month.
we have $194,430 a year for healthcare. With the increase, we've given that, it would be $231,150 a year, the town is paying.
But it'd be a minor adjustment.
And I think,
It would be
looking
minor.
at it,
It would be minor.
but looking at it from
You
your
wouldn't notice it.
perspective, your retention's gonna be better.
Right.
Your
And that's
employees
what
are
we're
gonna
looking
stay
at.
with you, and they're
That's
gonna
what I'm-
respect you. They're not
And
gonna
that's
be
what we're
mad.
looking at, and that's what
They're
you
not
want
gonna be
to
mad
know.
at you going in.
Right. And then you
Cause
have
I'm
better,
mad right now.
but then you have better service for the town. I mean, that's what I
See-
think people will go out here because of it.
You keep bringing up the reassessment. It had been 11 years. The tax, it was flat for 11 years. People were way underassessed for many, many years here. They knew it was coming. We had to get to 100%. So they were lucky for all those years prior.
But the housing market also.
I understand
The
that,
housing market is the past 3 or 4 years has been up, but that has nothing
but
to do
like,
with the past
My
10 years.
neighbor's house just sold for 200.
all right, the town board's gonna,
But do you see my point?
I see your point, the town board's gonna talk now, I mean, go ahead, Jennifer.
Is there a way to look at, and I had emailed Megan this question, she said we were gonna talk about it tonight. Can we look at the plans that we're buying into through Blue Cross and all the different medical plans? Like
Well,
maybe we
that's
just
what-
need to reevaluate what plans we're buying.
If you
because
guys, we could reevaluate the plans, instead of raising,
I think that's a direction I'd like to pursue because maybe we can offer some plans to people that are,
Well, you're so small, I think that's the problem.
we are
If
small.
we're a large, or if you were like a large organization, you could probably do that. We don't have a lot of bargaining for our plans.
but I
We
think that's doing our due
I
diligence
think you
to
do. I
like,
think you have more bargaining than you realize.
I
I mean,
think,
there are other plans out there, so, I mean,
Put a high deductible.
I would not okay this right, I mean, myself personally, I would not okay this right now.
Well,
Until we at
need to
least look at other
explore our
plans
options.
and see if there is
And
something
right now,
else.
it's a little too late to start looking since you have to enroll
So-
by a certain date, right?
We got
We
time.
had to get a credit card just for our high deductible, and we now pay like lower monthly, but it's still very expensive. And then we put all of our high deductible amount on that credit card. I had thyroid cancer, so I have a lot of follow-up visits, so we had to do what worked best for our family. And unfortunately, my husband's a welding engineer, and like, we still are trying to make ends meet with the amount, which is a pretty decent amount of money that he makes. So it's like, everybody's in the same position, unfortunately. So I try to empathize when you're asking like what we believe
The
will work.
marriage is also a life event, so I don't know how long we waited from the marriage, cause that opens you up for enrollment.
I think like 6 months.
Oh yeah, it's within 30 days they have to join.
Yeah, I know it. It was like they waited like 6 months.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So now they have to wait
Gotta
for
wait till open
open
enrollment.
enrollment, yes.
But we're all in the same.
I think we ought to table, I think maybe we ought to table this right now, and
yeah.
I can set up a meeting maybe the next week with our insurance people and see if there's a plan that the town would spend the same money.
But gives people more options, like maybe
Give
there's
people
some
more
families that need, that don't need as much medical insurance. and
Well, the high
they'll do
deductible
a high
plans,
deductible plan and have, like,
You have the option, if
$25
you're someone who only goes to the doctor to
I don't know, I
see
mean, I
PCP,
guess that's,
and
you
you
know,
don't
what we need
go
to.
frequently, then there's
Well,
a
there's,
good
there's
option.
also some money left on the table that was budgeted that we don't use, figuring that somebody else joins. But I'd like to see those numbers, like, firm numbers.
Not a lot, not right now, there isn't a lot. Because a couple people have joined, so it's down to not an awful lot. Not that you could afford another person right now. Another person would join and we'd break the budget on what is excellent.
We should probably, we're gonna do that, we're gonna, should probably have a timeline that we decide.
I can maybe set up an appointment for next week with our insurance people,
Who was that gentleman who came in, I don't
seeing
know,
what we still have.
like maybe a year ago, and he presented, I wasn't at that meeting, but then he was gonna come back and
Yes.
talk about our options, but we never pursued that for a reason. I don't remember why.
And that got too late. That was in December we were doing that. That got too late. That's why we didn't pursue it. We still have some time now. I mean, we're running out of time, but I can possibly get them in next week. We can switch next week if we needed to. It's only like a day or sending letters and we switch.
I mean, all insurance picked up this year.
Well, you wanna be competitive in the labor market. The labor market, labor market's tight, you've got good people, you wanna keep them. There's a lot of people that can go anywhere.
But what's the fine line though?
That's right, but you gotta be able, somehow you gotta pay for it. Until you see the numbers, I don't think this 36,000 is right.
Extra?
Yeah.
It is, that's actually right for the highway. That's pretty accurate, that one is, but that does not put in Mike's health care. That 36 is only for the people that pay in. So we get another 31,000 on top of that, that's what you got. If you want to know, I can.
But you're missing 5.
Right, but I mean, the 36 does not include Mike's health care. Because, let's get rid of it.
Right, I realize that.
No, you know what I mean, because he gets, he is in a different class. But that 36 is accurate, pretty close.
Right now in the highway, that's what's sitting extra in that account anyway. It was last year, it is this year. So that's already accounted for. So the difference is what you're talking about with a person joining that wasn't on it, a person getting married.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not just for you, it's
It's
for.
not highway, we can't
No,
just
I
offer it to
understand that, but I'm the
highway.
biggest piece of it,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm saying, and, when my guys came to me and asked me to bring it to you, I have to look at my budget, what does it look like? Steve was the one at the budget meeting that says these budgets never get totally used up. There's always money there in that budget. So I felt it's a reasonable thing to ask for, and that's why I brought it to my budget meeting. I asked Steve about it, I brought it to Phil, and the guys finally wrote a letter to see, this is what they're asking.
I mean, the person we have looking for our rates is supposed to try to find us the best rate.
But we don't have to stay at Blue Cross either. I mean, there's United Healthcare.
Be careful.
These-
about this stuff.
No, I know, but I mean, these insurance people can look at, they don't look at just Blue Cross. They're paid by whatever.
But as a provider, I'm gonna tell you, some of these rates are horrible.
Oh, I know, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, they're not just I'm just telling you they're not locked into just one. Whoever they get you in pays
You
them.
can get multiple different companies, like most of the hospitals do. You can also get Excelis here to your board meeting to discuss rates.
Well, we do, we have a person
Yeah.
that,
They'll,
like the broker that does it.
I actually use broker myself. It's very confusing.
So I'll work on, I think right now we should work on at least seeing our broker or whatever, and get them to come and talk to us and see what. And maybe we can do this without raising the taxes.
Well, I think you're gonna, I don't know if you're gonna raise the taxes, I think. What we put towards it's gonna squeeze the biggest out. 4 years, and I just know how this all works. It's not like a lot of big changes in rates, unless you want a high deductible plan, one that's gonna, depends on the person, if they're getting a lot of medication, there's a lot of prescription drugs costs. I mean, there's just so many, you're not gonna see a lot of different people. It's really, it's the participation of the employer on how. So I don't think you're gonna see a big difference. We can do this and look at, have them come up and show us. I think we're gonna make a decision either way.
Yeah. It's pretty
What
close.
is it for the rest of the people?
They got like, the town hall is like about 17,000
And then you have whatever.
extra. But all you need is one people coming on and that's gone.
This is my opinion. I don't think we're gonna see it.
And you don't wanna spend any of the accounts down to zero.
No, I agree, you want some buffer in there.
That's why we put a little bit of buffer in there, to have a buffer, not to spend it down to zero.
Let me ask a couple questions here. So currently, right now, you guys have a broker
Yeah.
that meets with, are they shopping different rates? Are they only with Excelis?
Right now, all we have done is Excel.
Yeah.
I can
So,
call,
I guess my
I can
question
talk
is-
to him tomorrow to see if he's shopping other rates.
There's a million municipalities in this state that have the same issue. Low number of employees. And what happens a lot of times in industries is people group up and somehow you're part of a group and you get better rates. Because that's really what these insurance companies tell you is, oh, you need a better participation and your rates drop. If you only have 25 people or 20 people, well, yeah, we can't offer you those great prices. Really, you have thousands and thousands of people that participate, but I'd be curious to know, there's not like a state program, or you're literally like on your own in this whole thing?
No.
You know what I'm
there
saying?
may be
Like-
a state, that's what I'll call the guy, we'll see if there is a state program.
I wonder if there's, there's some kind
I will
of,
ask that, yeah.
Well, anyone can get the state program, you just want to know.
Yeah, just do, anyway.
I think
Yeah,
It's not cheap.
You pay $2 less.
I'm just wondering if there's a little bit of a conglomerate here that would
There
help
might be a
those
state
rates.
program, I'll ask.
Well, there's, anybody in here can get the state program. There is a state
New York State
program.
Yeah,
It's
right, you meet up and you
expensive.
get better, hey, we get 100 of us now, and oh, we get a better rate.
I think it's
Right, you can work with that, right?
I've been doing it for
Sure.
Maybe only have
They're actually from Kristen.
15 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know, they're supposed to be flowers.
Bigger offer.
They're pretty.
Must be by December. Right.
But that's what we do.
I mean, I just don't wanna rush into making a decision like this, I think it's like, I don't think it's a willy-nilly, let's just do it kind of thing.
Right.
I understand where everyone is coming from, I think it's very valid, I think, people need to afford to live, but I think we need to also see what all the options are prior to making that decision, like, maybe there's a way we can do this without, having so much taxpayer input. Like, I think it's up to us to do the homework on that.
It's true. I think it's great that everybody should have an opportunity to have it, but, and I agree with you, that really it probably comes down to just doing homework and research and
Hard number.
seeing what the reality really is, right?
Go ahead.
At the end of the year, you have a lot of funding left. Could you potentially give bonuses and things like that
No.
to then pay off?
It's against,
Nothing like
it's
that?
against the law.
Why, it's a government, it's a social.
People that didn't take it. I was rooting for you. I know.
All right. Since there's nothing else,
Brian, no other business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
No, I was pointing. I know my red eyes. I'm scary. It's for Halloween. Yeah.